Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Brahman protect us. May he guide us and give us strength and right understanding. May love and harmony be with us all. Peace, peace, peace. And good evening. We are continuing with some of the lectures of Swami Abhedananda, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, who was teaching in this country for almost, I think, a couple of decades, mostly in the New England area. He was centered at the New York Center. And tonight we are going to start the chapter called The World as the Result of Vibration. And if you're following along in the complete works, there's an 11-volume set like this. It's in volume 4, and it's page 500 and something. Let's see, what was it, 550? The World as the Result of Vibration. I think I've got it marked in here. Yeah, 555, I was correct. All right, so now, of course, he is dealing with the science of 100 years ago. In fact, it was it was more than 100 years ago. He gave this lecture the month that they had the big earthquake in San Francisco. So that was big news. And the idea of the earth shaking and so forth fits into this lecture. So that tells you that it was done in 1906. So that was 115 years ago. All right, so his physics is a little outdated. He's still talking about an ether and an akasha, but of course Einstein's 1905 paper in relativity and so forth kind of did away with that. So we have to reinterpret that. So as we go along, we may fill some of that in. But we can keep in mind that the current theory, and science evolves, and so we just have to realize that the analogies we draw with science, it might change in the future. But the current model in science, which fits nicely with the Vedanta philosophy, is that there is an underlying field, a quantum field, and that particles are a disturbance in the quantum field. And so you can think of the quantum field as being what he's referring to is the ether or the all-pervading element. All right, let's go ahead and start here.
All right, this is chapter 17, World as the Result of Vibrations. You've seen in the last chapter the beautiful illustration of the fig tree, which represents the phenomenal world. The root of that tree is upwards, and the branches are downwards. The root is in the Brahman, the infinite being, and the branches cover all the objects which we perceive with our senses. The sun, moon, stars, and everything are the animate and inanimate objects. Now, in order to understand the cause that produces this tree of the world, we must know, first of all, the power of force, which causes this evolution of the tree. And for this reason, the teacher here describes in the second verse, all the animate and inanimate objects of this universe are nothing but the results of the vibration of the prana. This vibration of the prana is at the root of this tree and is also the cause of all phenomenal events which happen in this universe.
Yes, and as I like to point out, when you think of the general cosmology, you start with the oneness of Brahman, which is then perceived as a duality, a subject-object duality, or all the other dualities in the universe. And so a good model for that is a vibration. If you think of a string that's just steady in one place, and then if you pluck it or vibrate it, it's going to be going up and down. Even though you pluck just one direction, it's not going to just go one direction, it's going to go both directions. And so this is where the duality comes from. As soon as the oneness is disturbed, you get a duality. And then, of course, the vibrating string is a good analogy, too, for how the many come about, because you get, when you pluck a string, you get overtones. The overtones are the higher vibrations of that string. One vibration fitting into the string would be its fundamental, and then if you think of it divided into two, that would be the first harmonic. If you divide it into three, it's the second harmonic, and then the third harmonic, and so forth. And so musically, if you know a little bit of music, the first harmonic is an octave higher than the fundamental note, and the next harmonic is a fifth higher than that, and the next harmonic is another octave, a second octave higher, and then you get the third. And you can get all the notes of the scale from the different harmonics of that one note. And all you have to do is translate all of those harmonics back down into your beginning octave, and you get our scale. Now, the Indian scale, of course, has more notes in it than our Western scale, and that's because they've taken more overtones. And so if you keep adding overtones and overtones and overtones, then you can get some quarter tones and things like that into your scale. Of course, some of the Eastern scales used fewer notes. So the pentatonic scale in some of the Oriental countries, that only has a 5-note scale. And we have an 8-note scale with 12 notes in our octave if you go chromatically. So you can do all sorts of fun things with musical tones, and it's all derived from the overtone series of that one fundamental note. So truly, it's a great analogy for from the one comes the many through the process of vibration. All right, so let's continue.
The word prana is a Sanskrit term which means the cosmic life principle. It is the universal life principle. It is that which makes us living beings and which produces motion or vibration. If we examine carefully this whole world, we will find that it is the result of motion or vibration. If there were no motion or vibration, this world would not exist. Whatever we see, hear, or perceive with our senses is the result of vibration or of some kind of motion. And all these motions or vibrations, whether chemical, physical, or mechanical, are caused by the prana. Of course, ordinary minds do not realize the nature of this universal vibration. We do not stop for a moment to think how these phenomena have taken place. Modern science has proved that everything is but the product of some kind of motion or vibration. The atoms and the molecules are constantly attracted towards one another and repelled, and these attractions and repulsion of atoms and molecules produce this phenomenal universe. And the cause of that motion or attraction and repulsion is the prana. Now, the prana is that power which causes motion, which causes the atoms to attract other atoms, and which produces repulsion, gravitation. Now, if this attraction or repulsion or gravitation ceases to exist, the whole world will be destroyed. And if the vibration be stronger than it is at present, the whole world will be destroyed. The disaster that you have heard of and read about in the papers regarding the earthquake in San Francisco has created such great havoc. Now, what is the cause of it? It is nothing but motion or vibration. If the earth under our feet vibrates in an unusual way, all the foundations of these buildings will be shaken. Everything will be destroyed. The same vibration or motion, which is the cause of our life and existence, is the cause of our destruction. When it is in a different degree, then it will create destruction and havoc. but within a certain limit, it will give life and vitality. It will make everything harmonious. When we use the term harmonious, we mean also vibration under different conditions, as well as harmony of forces. These vibrations are nothing but a certain form of motion.
Yeah, so, and of course, we know that a lot of times that certain kinds of vibrations can be very healing. Certain kinds of music can have a nice healing effect, musical tones and so forth. Sound healing is sometimes very popular. Also, we know that it can be used in a very specific sense, where they use ultrasound to break up kidney stones, for example. So they use ultrasound in the dental office now to help remove the plaque from your teeth. So we have all of these things, but of course we also know that there are cases where people have used other kinds of vibrations to make people sick. There was the incidents in, was it Cuba, wasn't it, where they seemed to be sending some sort of cosmic vibration, ultrasonic vibration or something that was making people sick. You can buy those little pest control things too to keep the pesty animals out of your yard and it creates an ultrasonic sound that bothers them. It's interesting too to think of how the different Hindu traditions exemplify this idea of a vibrational universe. If you look at the Nataraja, you see that Shiva is dancing, and it's his rhythmic dance with the Damaru. He's got the Damaru in his hand, and that's causing the vibration of the universe to happen. Of course, we have Kali dancing on Shiva in that image. So again, you have this dance of the universe, the active feminine force. In the Vaishnava tradition, you have Krishna with his flute, and so the sounds of the flute are the musical vibrations forming the universe. In Advaita Vedanta, you could say that it's this idea of the mistake, the misapprehension of the one that creates the tension that pulls the string, you could say, that plucks the string. When you misperceive it, that misperception causes us to perceive this universe, this sort of holographic universe, you could say. Holographic universe, when you create a hologram, you're doing that with laser light, which is another kind of vibration, and the lasers combine together in certain ways to create the illusion that there's something out there, a holographic image. And so that's often used as an analogy for this, for the way the universe works, that it's some sort of a crazy hologram. All right, let's go on.
The same gravitation which keeps us alive and attracts the molecules of the cells of our body will kill a person who falls from the top of a roof or a tree. We know that we shall not be able to live without being subject to this law of gravitation. And the same law of gravitation creates havoc and destruction. If a building falls down by gravitation, it will perhaps kill thousands of people. Again, what is fire? There's also a certain state of vibration. When the vibration is low, there's heat, and when it is greater, it burns and destroys everything. What is electricity? Electricity is nothing but vibration. When the atoms and the molecules vibrate in one particular direction, it produces electricity. But we do not think of this constant vibration or motion. Did it ever occur to you that when you were born, you were whirling round and round 25,000 miles in 24 hours? If you were at the equator, you were whirling. You were whirling 25,000 miles a day from west to east, as we are whirling now. But we do not think of it. We think we're sitting still, but we are not sitting still. We are moving 25,000 miles into space, and then again the whole Earth is moving around the sun at the rate of 18 miles per second. And that means 64,800 miles per hour and 1,555,200 miles per day. We do not think of this. Two persons are sitting in a train, and apparently they are sitting still. But in relation to the external objects, they are moving very fast. Similarly, we are sitting still, apparently in this room, but in reality, we are moving very fast. Now, what is the cause of this motion? It is the prana, or the life force. Again, do we stop there after moving around the sun? No, the whole planetary system is moving around some other system at the rate of 150 million miles per second. Such is the condition under which we are living. We can never have rest. If we have absolute rest, there will be destruction and death. There will be no life. Life means a kind of motion. Any living object which does not move or vibrate we call dead. So the whole process of evolution is nothing but a certain state of vibration or motion. The external objects, or the objects of senses like color, sound, smell, taste, and touch, all these are nothing but vibrations. And what is color? The color is nothing but vibration of ether. The vibration be 400 billion in a second, then we shall see red color. This is the lowest vibration. The highest vibration is the violet color. And so all colors that we see with our eyes are nothing but vibrations of ether.
I just remembered something I heard about a long time ago, but I haven't heard anything about it recently. But there was a lady, and I'm afraid I can't remember her full name. It was Sherry something. And she was one of these people that got struck by lightning but survived. But after she was struck by lightning, when she would meet people and hear them talk, she could hear that their being was missing certain vibrations, and she could sing those vibrations and make them feel better. And she actually was pretty successful at healing people of some strange ailments with this special ability. I don't know whatever happened to her, but she, for a while, she was getting some great publicity and doing nice things with this gift that she had gotten. It's interesting how when people are struck by lightning, they sometimes get these strange gifts. There's another incident of a man who suddenly became very good at playing the piano, and he hadn't had any lessons, and he just started playing. He started composing, and he just got all that talent, that musical talent, after he had been struck by lightning. So anyway, so yes, everything, what his point here is that everything is vibration. And of course, if the Hindu philosophy that delves into this specifically is the Kashmir Shaivism that delves into the doctrine of vibration, and they start with that fundamental principle that everything is vibration. And of course, using that, you can explain why mantras work and why mudras work and why yantras work and all of that. So that particular Hindu philosophy is the one that most specifically addresses this idea of vibration. All right, let's read another paragraph.
Again, what is sound? 11,000 vibrations in a second will produce sound. And so with everything, if you examine properly, you will find that we are living in the ocean of ether, which is constantly vibrating and moving in some form or other. Then again, what are our internal conditions?
Yeah, so that ether we can think of now as the quantum field and things that are vibrating. Okay.
They are the results of vibrations too. It can also be asked, what is thought? What is intellect? And what is sensation and perception? In fact, they are nothing but vibrations. Thought is the result of the greatest vibration of the finer particles of matter. Such are the cases of sensations and perceptions. They are all nothing but vibrations. Because if we analyze our perceptions, we will see that the rays of light, which are constantly vibrating in a certain degree on coming in touch with the retina, produce an inverted image. just as you will find in a camera. The eyeballs are like lenses. The retina is like the plate where the inverted image is produced. That image produces a certain kind of vibration in the optic nerves, which is carried by those nerves into the brain cells. There it produces some other kind of vibration in the molecules of those cells in the brain. When that vibration is interpreted or translated by the sentient, intelligent soul, then it becomes a sensation. This way, we will be able to understand how the whole world is made up of vibrations, both internal and external. We cannot go beyond this vibration. When our lungs are moving, we breathe air from the atmosphere, and then that respirator process keeps all other organs in motion. And then we have digestion, circulation, nerve currents, and all other mental functions which we possess. In this ocean of ether, every particle of which is constantly vibrating, we live.
Yeah, we live in a world that runs on vibrations and runs on cycles. And you can think of all of history as working in cycles, and religious ceremonies work on cycles. So you have this daily cycle, and you get it from the morning, and you perhaps do your beads, do your japam in the morning. Perhaps you do an arati in the morning, or some sort of meditation or chanting, and then you have perhaps some other ritual that you do at meal times, and you have perhaps an evening ritual, perhaps you have a bedtime ritual. So all of these things are cycles, and these cycles create a rhythm to your day. And your life is created with the annual cycles. You've got all of these things, festivals that religions do, creates a particular cycle of vibrations, you could say, a very long wave vibration. And that hooks you into people that have been doing these things for centuries. And so it connects you to the ancestrals' vibrations that have been going on for decades. And this is, of course, why certain places have a nice vibration, a nice feel. Some people are more sensitive to that than others, but sometimes you can go into a place and you maybe don't feel comfortable. Maybe you just feel like there's something wrong with the place. Or you go in another place and it just feels so calm and peaceful and relaxing. And so usually, when you go to a place of worship, you feel that energy of the people that have worshiped there for perhaps years, decades, or in some cases centuries if you go to an ancient temple. Centuries of people doing a daily worship, or devotees or adherents to the particular tradition coming and doing their prayers or lighting candles and so forth. And so all of those ceremonies produce a vibration because they're thinking certain thoughts. And as he mentioned, your thoughts are vibrations as well. And so these thought vibrations affect the atmosphere of the place. They get kind of absorbed by the physical place. That's why people like to go on pilgrimages, because the places have certain vibrational energies that feel better to people than other places. The earth, some people try to investigate certain power points in the earth where the vibrations seem to be naturally high, and that seems to help some people tune into that vibration. And of course, this is how some psychics work. They pick up on the vibrations of a particular area. And so some of them are good at solving crimes that way. They'll go to a crime scene and they'll be able to pick up on the vibrations of the energy there. So all of these things are really ways that vibrations are obvious in our environment and how they can affect us. Some of us are just, are more sensitive to vibrations and others. Also, there's a certain kind of resonance. We probably each resonate with certain vibrations more than others. So you might feel more comfortable in one particular environment where maybe your friend doesn't particularly feel anything there. They might like some other place a little better. That's probably why we like different religions. So each one has a certain vibration, and our being has a certain resonance to it. And so you find one that kind of resonates with you, you could say. Food is the same way. Food has a vibrational energy. The way it's prepared will give it a vibrational energy. The people that prepare it will give it a vibrational energy. So all of this, these vibrations get imprinted in the things that are in that environment. And so that is creates different kinds of atmospheres that we experience. All right, let's continue here.
In any havoc or disaster, we think we have lost so much. But have we really lost anything? No, we cannot, and we have not, because we cannot possess anything. Motion cannot possess motion. Vibration cannot possess vibration. How can we possess anything? So long as we are living in the darkness of ignorance, we have the thought of ownership or possession. This belongs to me. But who are you? You are nothing but a mass of vibration. All these thoughts of ownership or possession start from ignorance. A wise man can never possess anything. And that was the reason why Christ had no home to lay his head in. So every wise man is a child of nature, and he cannot possess or own anything, and consequently, he cannot lose anything. There's no such thing as a loss in this world of vibration. Even this body we cannot possess all the time. The food which we take is not ours. It produces a certain vibration, and that again produces other vibrations. Action and reaction are constantly going on, and we make mistakes. We grieve over certain things, but a wise man does not grieve over anything. May sound a very heartless thing to say, but it is not heartless. When you look at an event from the standpoint of the universe, you stop for a moment and think whether you really have lost anything or not. When you find that you cannot lose anything, that whatever is yours forever, and what does not belong to you, you can never possess. That will bring a most comfortable thought, which is the most loving thought in our minds. It will make us feel divine.
Yes, all right. Why don't I take a turn here? Because I can't think of anything to say, so take a turn reading. God does not mourn over anything. And why should he? He knows that nothing is lost in this universe. Even if certain things are burned into ashes, do you really think those things are lost in this universe? We may not use them, but they have other uses. They may not be for our use, but they may be of some other use in the universe. They may produce other things. And in this way, if we reason, we can find that there is no ground for grief or sorrow or for loss. The bodies may be destroyed, but the atoms and the molecules of the bodies are not destroyed, and the egos are not destroyed, and the souls are not destroyed. Perhaps all you will hear the birth rate during this year or during next year will be decreased because so many thousands of people are destroyed by the earthquake at San Francisco. They will be born again. Where do these new children come from? They are the old ones who lived in some other existence or lived in animal forms. So a certain set of vibrations lead to another set of vibrations. And in this way, the world is moving. Yeah, so vibrations do lead to vibrations. And you can make things vibrate by vibrating something else. If you, say, take a tuning fork and you hold it on a table, pretty soon the sound gets louder because the table starts to vibrate. So vibrations do create vibrations. They're sympathetic vibrations. And if you hit the frequency of something, then it will resonate even more. Of course, people that build things have to be careful of that because you don't want things to catch the natural vibrations in the atmosphere if it's something like a bridge. There's a famous example of a bridge that was not built quite right, and the wind came through the river canyon. It caused the whole bridge to vibrate, and it unfortunately vibrated in a sympathetic vibration, which just got more and more and more. The vibration just got greater and greater and greater until the bridge just tore itself apart. So again, vibrations can be good and bad, but in that case, their natural vibrational pattern was something that was so compatible with that bridge that you don't want the bridge to be waving like a vibrating string. You want it to stay still. So in that case, it didn't work. So the whole point is that things do set other things in motion. And that's why a special guru will have an effect on somebody, because they can make you vibrate in a certain resonant way and make you feel more uplifted and more spiritual. All right, let's read a little more.
So a certain set of vibrations lead to another set of vibrations. In this way, the world is moving. The first expression of this phenomenal universe, first manifestation, begins with the vibration of that one cosmic energy. Cosmic energy exists from the beginningless past and will continue to exist forever. And that is the foot of all forms.
I think it's root, but it probably didn't transfer right. Yes.
That is the root of all forms.
He's reading from a scan, and every once in a while the scanner makes up things.
The suns, moons, and stars are coming into existence from this energy. And in the end, they will all go back to the same eternal stock. This earth has come into existence from the mass of nebulous matter, which is a gaseous and vapory substance. And in the end, it will go back to that vapory and ethereal substance. The disaster which has given such a shock to the world would be nothing compared to that when this earth will come in touch with a comet or some other star or planet. Then everything will suddenly disappear. So we must be prepared to face that. We should think of the worst thing that could happen, and the scientists and astronomers always think of the worst conditions, and so they do not take these little things into account.
Yeah, I think if a big asteroid hits a planet, the whole planet just vibrates and rings like a bell, and you can actually see earthquake waves going from one part of the globe to the other. That's seismologists, of course, can measure earthquakes all over the globe. If you have an earthquake in Chile or an earthquake in Puerto Rico or an earthquake in any part in Japan or something, the vibrations go all the way through the earth, and they can pick them up, and that's how they locate the particular earthquake. They can triangulate the waves that are coming in, and they know where exactly the earthquake took place. That's how they tell you how deep it is and that sort of thing. All right.
What are the causes of disasters that are taking place in Italy from time to time? The eruptions of Mount Vesuvius and the results therefrom? They are caused by that vibration and motion. So everything that exists in the universe and everything that happens in this universe is caused by motion or vibration of some kind. The cause of that motion or vibration is the prana. The same prana, when it manifests itself in the external world, appears as heat, light, motion, gravitation, electricity, wind, and other forces as chemical and mechanical forces. They are all governed by the laws of the prana. When the same prana manifests in the internal world, it produces thoughts, desires, feelings, emotions. We are all governed by the laws of prana. This prana is the universal substance. The first manifestation for this energy was akasha, the space. You may call that ether, but it is not exactly ether. But it is that which produces ether, or that which is the cause of ether. Modern science does not know what the cause of ether is, but when we shall be able to go a little further beyond ether, we shall be able to find a mass of energy, and that energy is extended. Space means extension, and ether, of course, fills that extended space. That which produces extension is the energy governed by the power of the prana.
Yeah, I always think that John Dobson gave the best explanation of this when he points out that the 5 elements of Hindu antiquity are associated with our 5 sense organs. And that gives you a clue that those 5 elements are really energies, and all those energies are vibrational energies. So akasha is associated with the ear, and the ear is an organ that not only senses sound, but senses the gravitational field. And the gravity is probably the most fundamental of your energies in the universe. You could kind of think that the whole universe runs on everything falling together by gravity. And he points out that that's part of the mistake in Maya. Maya is made up of a mistaken perception. And the first, if you want to talk about a first, is that you're seeing the undivided as divided. And you're also seeing the infinite as finite and the changeless as changing. But if you see the undivided as divided, then it's going to want to all fall back together again and become undivided, and that's where you get gravity. And so that's your first element, and that's associated with the ear. And then from that, what happens? If everything is being pulled back together by gravity, you get kinetic energy. So that's your second element, which is exemplified by wind. It's often translated as air, but that's not a good translation. It's really the wind, it's the motion that is the important element there. And then from that, what happens? Well, things clump together from the gravity, and as things clump together, as the raw hydrogen and helium in the universe clumps together, it heats up. And if it heats up enough, then pretty soon the mass of hydrogen and helium forms a star, and nuclear fusion starts. So then you get radiation energy, light energy, the electromagnetic radiation. And then from that, you get electricity and magnetism. And so you get all 5 elements, which are associated with your 5 sense organs, which is the way the scriptures identify those 5 elements. And from there, you get the universe. So the prana is this manifestation of all those energies. And of course, we don't talk about ether in science anymore, but we do talk about the quantum field underlying the entire reality. And certainly, if you've mistaken the undivided for the divided and the infinite to be finite, you end up with a universe that's separated in space and time. And so space is part of that initial mistake. And so you could say that gravity pervades all of space, which it does. And light goes on forever out into space. So all of these things permeate space. And so that's what's permeating it, is the field that vibrates with all of these energies. Okay, let's continue. He's amazingly up to date, though, of course. I think he was in touch with a lot of the scientists of his time and philosophers back in New York. So he was very well informed. Okay.
Space means extension, and ether, of course, fills that extended space. And that which produces extension is the energy governed by the power of the prana. There is one infinite mass of substance extended, and when it is worked upon by the force of the prana, the atoms begin to vibrate. And when they vibrate, they attract each other and produce molecules, and those molecules again attract other molecules. Thus, the elements of nature are produced. They are governed by laws. We may call them mechanical laws or methods, but they are all governed by higher intelligence. There is no such thing as absolutely unintelligent mechanical law or mechanical force. Even a machine which is produced by human ingenuity will not be able to move by itself. It requires an intelligent hand to guide it and to direct it in order to get proper results.
You know, another thought just came to me, and that's the idea of absolute zero. You know, we can't produce absolute zero because at absolute zero, all motion of the molecules would stop. When you measure the temperature of something, what you're really measuring is the motion of the molecules in that substance. And so if you looked at if you could look at the atoms in the substance, you would notice that they're all vibrating. You can't really see atoms directly, but you can see what's called Brownian motion. That was discovered, I think that was discovered by Einstein too, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't remember for sure. But anyway, he realized that the atoms in different fluids must be moving because they seem to be bouncing things around in the fluid. And this is called Brownian motion, or the random motion of the molecules. If you heat something up, the molecules move faster and faster. So, and you cannot reach absolute zero because then all motion would stop. So as he says here, everything has to be pervaded by this prana, or the existence would disappear. All right, let's read a little more. Yeah, we got a little more time.
This body is governed by that power of the prana. That prana is not the same thing as any of the ordinary mechanical forces or mechanical laws that we know of. It is not the same as unintelligent force of attraction or molecular attraction or gravitation or electricity or heat or light, but it is a power which regulates, guides, and directs all mechanical forces and controls them. Now, what power is that by which we can control all mechanical forces? If we know the nature of that power, we shall understand what prana is. It is inseparable from intelligent entity. Intelligent entity cannot be dead, but it must be living. God is living being, and yet at the same time he is intelligent. Intelligence and life go together. Wherever there is intelligence, there must be life. And wherever there is life, there is some manifestation of intelligence. And as we know that there is no such thing as dead matter in this universe, that the whole world, as modern science has explained, is a living world. Atoms and molecules are living because they have motion. Wherever there is motion of any kind, there's a manifestation of life. And therefore the whole world is living. And if the world is living, then there must be intelligence in the world. Otherwise, it cannot live, because life would not be the same thing as molecular attraction, which exists in the inanimate objects.
Yeah, you know, when you study chemistry, I was a chemistry minor, it's fun to think of things anthropomorphically, that the electrons are attracting each other, and they want to do this, and they want to fill up their electron shells, and so they create molecules so that they can share and so forth. So you really, this kind of living view of the molecules and atoms is an extremely useful one, and really there is a reality to that. There really is some kind of an intelligence embedded in the universe. As we say, the universe is Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, or knowledge and bliss. And so that consciousness is embedded in all of matter. And the miracle, of course, that we still really haven't explained is there's something different about living things from what we usually call as inanimate things. And how that emerges out of matter is a real mystery. And of course, if you think that consciousness is embedded everywhere, then it becomes a little less of a mystery, but it's still a mystery because there's definitely a difference between something that's dead and something that's alive. Even our bodies are very different when the spirit, the Atman, the Jiva, leaves the body. It leaves a dead body behind that's different from the living body that it inhabited before. And that is we're not exactly sure how to describe that, but there's some element of that consciousness that is a little different than the ordinary. All right, well, I don't think we have time for another paragraph. It's a long one. It's almost more than a page long. So we will continue next time. And next time we'll be in the library because we do vigil every month here. And that is one of the ways we create a nice vibration here. Not only do we do daily meditations, but we also do a monthly vigil where we have people chanting the Lord's name for 24 hours continuously in the temple. And that really creates a vibrational energy which goes out into the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood, and permeates the walls of the temple. So it's a very nice time, and it's a tradition that's gone on for a long time here. So that's just another good example of how we can use vibrations to help the universe. Of course, the Transcendental Meditation people have done experiments with that too, where they would send a lot of meditators to a particular city and have them all do Transcendental Meditation, and they find that the crime rate goes down in those cities. So you see, you really do have an effect. Swami Vivekananda said that even the yogi sitting in a cave, seemingly not doing any service to the universe, is doing a service to the universe because those vibrations go out into the universe and create a more spiritual environment. So even if you're not capable of doing social service in a particular way, perhaps you don't have the expertise, the social skills, the psychological skills, the medical skills, or whatever kind of skills is needed to serve a particular segment of the population, your meditation and japam also go to help the universe. And so I know that some of the devotees that become elderly and too sick to do much of anything, they always like to be of service to the center and that kind of thing, and then they couldn't do it anymore because of their physical health. They took solace in the fact that they could continue their meditation practice at home, and that was also contributing to a healthier environment for the world as well as for themselves. So just keep that in mind, and especially in these COVID times where we're not as free to run around and do things for other people and to do service the way we might have done it before, that you are doing service by doing your spiritual practice. All right, let's close with a chant. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From out of Brahman floweth all that is. From Brahman all, yet is it still the same. Om, peace, peace, peace.